Got traffic there. Last there, just take it up to the departure end of the runway, then a left turn and a lowest downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down, low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final. You're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold. Take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final. Runway 9 clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh, we had one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger, let's see, what we got, a tricycle, put it down, tricycle, put it down, put it down. Tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you cleared land on 9 all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, and let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. You do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, I lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard got the jet in tight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, here on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around.
Yeah, I can follow.
Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that. After 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello. Hello.
hello, everybody. How you all doing out there? Well,
It's cold.
it is bloody cold, isn't it? It is bloody cold. Right, coming up tonight, we'll be talking to YouTuber Charlie Lamdin. Inviting Charlie onto the live stream has produced more comments and more vitriol than we've ever had from any other guest over the last, 4 years? So I think there's been a few people who've said they're not going to watch as a result. I'll give you my thoughts on that just before we talk to Charlie in about 25 minutes. But for now, in the news, we got stuff about road tax thieves striking again. The police grabbing not just criminals, in fact, perhaps not even criminals, but bits of airspace for a drone trial. The CA are planning on regulating AI. Aviators, I need to get this bit right. The Aviators balls big winner.
Very good.
Very good. There was a warning there, wasn't there? Has been announced, at least the person who is going to be the guest presenter. We'll be talking about that later. And there are more documents from Border Force in fancy hangout looking at our favourite aircraft from 100 years ago. 100 bloody years. Amazing, isn't it? Right. Time to say big thanks to SkyDemon. Thank you very much, SkyDemon, for sponsoring this. It couldn't happen without you. And here, from the man himself, is this week's tip on vertical. Well, you can find out what it's all about. Here you go.
Hi, I'm Tim from SkyDemon. Welcome to this week's top tip.
In SkyDemon, vertical planning is very easy. If I plan a flight from Wickham Air Park up to Sywell, we can see that our main planning altitude is at 4,000 feet, but here we've got airspace starting at 3,500 feet. I'll double tap just to take the main map to this point. Here, where we exit the airspace, I'll just put a little turning point in. That way you can see the turning point here, and you can grab the leg before the turning point and just raise and lower it with your finger. I'm going to put it at 3,100 feet. This way our flight is planned at that altitude before climbing once we're free of the airspace to the final altitude. You can also press and hold and press on leg properties, and here you can change the value to whatever you like.
For our full user manual, go to skydemon.aero and choose Help and Support.
Did anyone notice that Tim has got like a super chilled, that's like super chilled, super relaxed Tim? He must have been practically horizontal delivering that tip.
I think if Tim ever gets bored with SkyDemon, and let's bloody hope he doesn't, because I'm not sure I'd ever go flying if I didn't have SkyDemon, to be honest with you. And if he wasn't doing that, I think he could probably set himself up on sort of various like go to sleep ASMR type things. Hello.
Hi, it's Tim from SkyDemon. Are you feeling sleepy?
You are. No, anyway, great tip. There you go.
Very good. Anyway, it was cold enough to freeze the rivets off a Cessna today, so I think it's time to ask our weather wizard what the weekend holds.
When you find your weather wizard, would you let me know?
I was quite pleased with that one, Simon.
Yeah, that's very good, actually. Yeah, I'm impressed with that, Ed. What's the weekend hold? Less cold weather. It is going to get warmer for a few days. Things get a little bit milder, and then we do go cooler again next week. Probably not to the depths that we were last week, or in fact that chill that we had today, but still it is going to be fairly cool for the time of year. Weekend, I've seen better, but there is some flying to be found in there. Tomorrow actually probably is the better day for most of us of the weekend. Things starting to change a little tomorrow. You see here, we've got lots of cloud across Ireland and Western Scotland. These yellows, ambers and red colours are never good news, are they? That basically means low cloud bases. Cold front coming in across Ireland. We've got a warm front north of Scotland. In between the two, we're in what's called the warm sector, which is between the warm front and the cold front. That's always an area of moist air. So I think what's going to happen is many western coasts of Scotland, western coasts of Wales, coasts of southwest England, low cloud bases, probably 1,000 feet or less, bits and pieces of drizzle around. Away from there, though, once you're in the protection, away from that sort of south-southwesterly wind, actually it's going to be not a bad day. Clouds going to be breaking, bases are up at 4,000 feet, tops about 7,000 to 8,000 feet. Visibility may be down a touch, perhaps 15 to 20 kilometres, but it's still not bad. And actually, like I say, it looks like not being too bad a day for most of us. Now, Saturday, although that looks quite an innocuous looking chart there. That south to southwesterly flow, bringing low cloud again to these western coasts of southwest England, western Wales, northwest England, southern Scotland. Anywhere exposed to that wind really is probably going to see some low cloud. You see here the model's trying to pick it out a bit with the cloud-based forecast. The orange colours there, sorry, the yellow colours showing us 1,000 to 2,000 foot bases. Maybe a touch lower, some mist on the coast as well. But inland, actually, once you get away from that, base is much higher, a better day, and probably looking at 2,000 to 3,000 foot bases, tops about 5,000 to 6,000 feet. Fairly cloudy throughout, just some breaks in the cloud here and there, particularly in the east. But again, it's not bad for flying. Now, Sunday, bit of a problem with a front that comes eastwards on Sunday. I'm a bit uncertain about exactly how quickly this feature is going to be moving. I think it may try and slow down as it gets through central and southern areas. It's not horrendous. Bases even on the front, 1,500 to 2,000 feet. Tops about 10 to 12,000 feet. Generally light rain, but could be one or two moderate bursts. Perhaps some low cloud just running up the channel. You can see it there, just marked on the cloud forecast chart. Coming in behind, the cloud bases lift. I still think a fair amount of cloud, though. And base is probably at about 3,000 feet. Tops up at around 10 to 12,000 feet. And one or two showers coming in. So Sunday is the day I would say, with a bit of a question mark over it. I think definitely my pick of the days is going to be Friday, but Saturday, as I say, not bad either. Right, okay, Christmas time coming up, of course. The Weather School shop is open, so I've got my books, my DVDs, you've got gift vouchers there for the courses, loads and loads of stuff. Go to weatherschool.co.uk. Get your pilot Christmas gifts now. Okay, have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.
Simon,
yes,
Simon, I have a little question for you.
Oh dear.
Is it too late for me to become a weather person? Because you said it looks like Friday is going to be the best day of the weekend. Now, in my world, Friday is still part of the working bloody week.
Yeah, no, you see, this is a discussion to have with forecasters everywhere. Is Friday the first day of the weekend? I kind of think it is for flying, because if you can get out there and sort of throw a sickie, or just say to the boss, look, I'm going out, I think Friday is the first day of the weekend. Make it 3-day weekends.
I think the critical thing to learn here is that Simon has just given the nation a 3-day weekend.
Absolutely, absolutely. And why not, if it means that we can fly? I will take your comments to the committee and feedback in the usual way.
Put that in the round fine. Okay, thank you very much, Simon.
See you soon. Enjoy your weekend.
See you. Where have you go? Oh, there we go. There you go. Right. Where are we? Right. News. Yes. News.
Before you start, Chris Holliday said, I think Tim would be a great voice for the Garmin Autoland function.
Don't panic.
Yeah. Don't panic. I'm just going to land for you.
I can't remember what it actually says when I went on that demo flight in the States, but it might say something like "Don't panic" or something like that.
It's like it's a soothing message, isn't it? And it displays on the screens. It says Garmin is landing the aeroplane for you.
Exactly. And at the risk of repeating myself and becoming like an old person who tells the same joke week after week after week, my favourite part of the whole lot is the way that once it's landed and braked on the runway, it transmits on the tower frequency. They go, "No, Tam, this runway is now closed," and just continually does that until.
With some of my landings that I've made in the past, I need that function, I think.
How bloody hell did you know? Yeah, absolutely. Right. So where are we? Yes. So some bad news to start with, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh no, I guess I know some bad news. There's been a couple of thefts reported recently. I don't think they're connected, but earlier this week on Monday at Roach, which is down in the far southwest of Cornwall, getting on for kind of Truro area, I believe. There was a Rotax serial number. Get your pens ready. 4152002. That was on a Kit Fox Golf Bravo Tango Oscar Lima. Said Kit Fox was actually for sale on A4s at the time. Some scrope helped themselves to the warehouse, to a hangar. Warehouse? Where am I get that from? To the hangar, cut the engine off and disappeared with it, and a few other bits and pieces beside, which is frankly not a good thing. It seemed like the Rotax thefts had gone quiet. Hopefully this is a one-off and not the beginning of a spate of Rotax thefts. Equally, recently at Farley Farm, which is not far from Winchester, there was another break in there. There were no engines taken in that case. There were a couple of, I think, a ride-on mower, a whole bunch of tools and two toolboxes, some winches and stuff like that, but no engines in that particular one. And I've heard some reports of an attempted burglary at Bodmin, but I haven't heard any more about that either. So, if you do lose a road tax, then Operation Opal from the police are the people running that. I think it's got some kind of strange name. And Ed, in the top of the running sheet, there's the URL, the not very snazzy URL.
The not very snazzy. I'm on it, and that's appearing in the comments very shortly.
That would be great. So yeah, keep them peeled and keep a look out, as it were.
And it's worse this time of year anyway, because it's like dark evenings, isn't it? So
yeah, it's depressing. I just find it really depressing. I find the idea that people can think they can just take what they want from other people is just really
because it's been a while since we've had spades of road tax theft, isn't it? So
I mean, I'm sure, being purely selfish about it, I'm almost sure that at some stage my future is going to involve a road tax in an aeroplane, and I don't really want to spend my whole nights, weekends, and everything else just worrying that someone's about to go and help themselves. Apart from anything else, like just an unnecessary thing.
And that's got to be the worst feeling to open. Well, if I turn up at your hangar and find your airplane minus an engine.
Yeah, and a lot of these thefts are they're basically just they're done as quickly as possible, so they're cut out.
Yeah,
it's not like if someone's lifted it off of
the damage is tremendous. Yeah. So anyway, on from that news, I've got some news of a new drone trial that's taking place, and this one is we've heard of drone trials taking place, on bits of coast or up in Scotland or in restricted areas, but this one's taking place local to us. It's in the southwest. It's going to be 6 months. It's right across the Severn Estuary by the with the bridges right in the middle, and it's starting in May 2025. It's for a 200-kilogram police drone, and the plan is that ultimately the drone is going to operate beyond visual line of sight. There's going to be a temporary reserved area, because that's the snazzy new friendly name for the keep out, and a transponder mandatory zone. Both areas match, and they'll be established during the time of the trial, and will be notammed when those bits are active. Now, the National Police Aerial Service are sponsoring the trial. It's being run by a commercial supplier that we don't know the name of, and it's all about looking at how UAVs can be used for police operations. It's going to be centred on Avonmouth helipad. That will be where they'll be launching and landing, and it takes place in Class G airspace, which is up to 4,000 feet, though the vertical limits of this TRA are going to be surfaced to 1,700 feet. So there's 5 stages of the trial. The first 4 will be, first 3. Yeah, first.
some of them.
The first 2 stages are visual line of sight. The stages 3 and 4 are beyond visual line of sight, and then the 5th stage is, and so stages 1 through 4 are during the night, and stage 5, which is probably what's going to cause the most effect to general aviation, is day and night, and it's going to be 2 weeks, and it's going to be, well, by that time probably late summer, I would think, and it's going to be Monday to Friday, 10 till 3. So, that could be quite restrictive. What is a little bit odd, and often the case with these consultations, is that it's quite dismissive of general aviation in the area. It identifies Bristol, Cardiff and oddly Badminton as affected airfields, but local pilots have pointed out that there's at least 5 strips operating in that area that aren't even identified. So anyway,
I mean, maybe they could go to the authorities, like, I don't know, the police, and they'd know where all the strips are locally.
You would think. I'm going to put. This is probably an important one to comment on if you feel you have the time, and I think it's always important to make your thoughts known. Paul Wheel says, I'd like to report some airspace. Hello, don't call 999 and report that. That would be bad.
Can I have a crime number, please?
That's it, yes.
Well, you could give them the airspace change number.
That's it, yeah. And they are saying that you'll be able to, you will, in stage 5, you'll be able to contact the trial operator and say, I want to fly through the zone. And then they may or may not give you permission. And then if you do get permission, you need to talk to Bristol, who, based on some people's historic interactions with Bristol will probably go, what or no. So, yeah. Oh, Tom McCormick says, surely Gloucester will be affected as well. So, there's a lot goes on in the estuary. So.
That's assuming that there's aviation taking place at Gloucester this time next. No, I shouldn't really say that. That was a joke. That was a joke. I'm not being serious. We
know Gloucester's for sale, but I'm sure there's aviation in its future for now.
Absolutely. So that was a joke. In case there's any doubt. Right, I'm going to move on.
Okay.
So today we got news. You may have seen it yourself if you subscribe to any of the CAA stuff. That the Civil Aviation Authority have issued their strategy on how they're going to regulate AI in aviation. So, unfortunately, it was Thursday afternoon. Dave had the day off today, and I was pretty busy getting ready for tonight and all sorts of things. So, didn't really have the time to do the full story. But I thought it's an AI story. I know, ChatGPT. So, first thing I said, ChatGPT, can you get me an illustration for this? So that was the best that ChatGPT could come up with, or the best that my prompt could deliver, which I thought was not a bad effort. And then I basically pointed the URL of the document to ChatGPT and say, could you please summarize this and check if there are any weaknesses? And ChatGPT wrote the story, which I copied and pasted onto the Flyer site. So the AI has written a story about the strategy for regulating AI. Basically, it said complexity of AI regulation. The rapidly evolving nature of AI technologies makes it challenging to create timely and effective regulatory frameworks. Yeah, that's true. Lots of resource constraints at the CEA that could hinder it. There's ethical and bias challenges, global harmonization gaps. AI tools will generally be used globally, and so each regulator trying to regulate it is going to be a bit of a pain. And there are all sorts of other cybersecurity. Anyway, go read the AI written report. It was written better than I could do it anyway. So have a look at that. Of course, one last thing, implementation lag. And the time it takes the CA to come up with a regulation and consult on it and all the rest of it, it'll probably be out there. And the AI would have moved on anyway, and they'll be regulating typewriters or something.
AI probably will have taken over by that time, and everything will be much more efficient.
AI can write the regulation. Yeah. Talking of regulatory changes, I don't know whether it was AI-driven or economy-driven, but Argentina have had an interesting one recently. I realise it's not on the news. We spoke about it briefly yesterday. They're kind of pilot shortage in Argentina, like everywhere else in the world. They decided to deal with it. They basically said, age limits. Nah, who needs those? There's not going to be 60 or 65 for single or two pilot operations. It's just however old you can get and still get a medical, basically. So there'll be lots of old pilots heading for
That's
Argentina.
One solution.
Yeah.
Experienced pilots.
Sorry, experienced pilots. That's what I meant. Sorry. Is your dad sending you a text at the moment or something? Right. Enough of that. It's your story next, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm just going to go back to this quickly because I think there must be a fantasy hangar theme here. We should take ChatGPT and give it some prompts and try and come up with something each.
There we go. That's got to be something for next week, isn't it?
That's a great idea. Yeah, good one. Nice one. Yeah, well done. Right.
On to next story. So the weekend just gone saw the popular Air Ability Ball, Aviators Ball in London. Over £120,000 was raised across all the auctions with over 80 prizes, including a astronomical £380 bid to be a live stream presenter on this show. The winning bidder, who we've had on before as a guest, was the Mr. Hartop from Farway Common. Hortop. And if you happen to be watching, James, we've got an idea for how we could incorporate you onto the live stream as well as incorporate the airstrip. So, yes, we'll start making plans.
Yes, I think we can expect a live stream. I did actually mention it to him earlier on today on email, and he said, "Yeah, why not?" So I think once it gets a bit warmer and the days get a bit longer, we can have a live stream live from Faraway Common.
That would be amazing.
I'll leave you lot alone for a day. Blimey, all this stuff comes out.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Eretiques has got an important question. He says, "Is that an AI moustache, Johnny?"
No.
That's authentic. That's OG.
Yeah.
Is it just like one of those Movember things, or is it just because it's trendy?
No, permanent. It's pure testosterone, Darren.
I feel we just got an outtake for best of 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone logged that. Right, Dave.
Right. So if you're a reader of the Flyer Forum, you'll have seen a set of lively posts about Border Force cracking down on any errors made when filing a General Aviation Report, otherwise known as GAR, that's necessary when flying back from abroad. Now, in a very timely move, Border Force, who I think must have been reading the forum, has just issued its latest guidance document, which includes loads of useful information for pilots. There's detailed guidance on completing and submitting the form, including the different types of flight, the action required, all the documents required, even what to do if the weather changes and your plans have to change. There's a very useful list of airfields where you can operate to and from and comply with the rules. We were talking earlier, and there's some real surprises in there. Places I've never heard of, such as Sunnyside Farm. That sounds quite good. Curry Revell.
Do you think Sunnyside Farm make eggs?
That'd be great.
I think they do, actually, yes, yeah. Curry Revell. I wasn't sure it was meant to be Curry River, but never mind. And a place called Glen Swinton. They're all approved airfields. Equally useful, there are contact details for all of the UK police forces, including email addresses and phone numbers. This is that rare beast, a really useful government document.
Cool.
Yeah, and you can download it free. There's a link at the top of the form, Ed, a bit.ly link. A shortened bit.ly link, because the original link is miles too long.
It's very long. And it's in the comments. It's on screen right now. Here we go.
Yeah.
Go there for the that, because it is quite a useful document.
It is very useful. Yeah.
Curry Ride was good, Dave. I've been.
Yeah, me too.
Have you? All right.
Yeah.
Where the heck is it?
It's funny enough. It's right next to Merrifield.
That's only funny if you look for later on.
Yeah.
It's worth touching on this, as it's obviously touched nerve. Astor Diamond says, absolutely despise the way airspace changes are treated by GA pilots. In most cases, an opportunity to move tech forward. But old David in his Jodel is objecting because he has to fly 10 more miles. I don't think that's really very fair, is it? So I think people are saying that actually the consultation, we all want tech to move forwards, but often the consultations don't seem to fully embrace and take into account all the things that are affected by those areas. So feel free to get in chat if you have a thought.
Yeah. Right, let's move on, because we're going to be running out of time otherwise, and we've got Charlie sitting in the green room patiently, who we need to get to. Johnny, let's have a quick club news.
Yeah, so Flyer Club members, if you are a member, thank you. If you're not, you can join at flyer.co.uk/membership. We're just about to tick over into a new month, so we've got December landing fees coming out on the 1st, which will be Audley End, Solent, Tivenham, Yatesbury, and 50% off Sandown. We've also got Mark Greenfield on next week on the 3rd for a webinar all about forced landings. So you can join that, as well as catch up on Harry Lee's avionics webinar from this month. So join the club.
I think there's one B in Tivenham, but never mind.
Sorry?
There's one B in Tivenham, not two.
We like to put the B's in Tivenham.
No, that's it. Right, show's over. We've done that wrong. Right. Okay. Well, it's time for an interview. Before we move on to talking to Charlie, I just want to say a couple of very quick things. So, obviously, Charlie Lamdin is not without controversy. In fact, His appearance, as I said earlier, has generated more pushback and vitriol than other guests we've had on the show. Some of you even question why we'd even given him the opportunity to speak. If you want to see those comments, look at the Facebook page on Fire. Seriously, we're not talking about hosting Hermann Goering here. We're talking about someone from a world of general aviation with views and approach, and his approach might be polarizing and his views might be polarizing, but isn't that the point of discussion? We need to challenge ideas, not silence them. I know some of you have seen his videos and decided you don't like what he has to say or even how he says it. Some of you do, by the way. Perhaps you feel his negative influence on general aviation or even that his ideas could be dangerous. I don't know. But how can we understand or challenge the ideas if we refuse to listen? Why would you refuse to listen? I just don't get that. So your criticism, if you want them to carry weight and if you've in fact got some criticisms, then you need to inform them by better understanding. Tonight isn't about agreeing with Charlie. It's about hearing him out, asking him questions, and perhaps refining our own viewpoints, whether that's in agreement or opposition. That's how meaningful discourse should work, isn't it? I don't know. I think it is. This is a mini rant it's turned into. It shouldn't have done, but it has. So this is how we grow. I know. Thank you, Nick. Thank you. This is how we grow stronger as a community. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to show you a short video introducing Charlie's YouTube channel. We're going to have a chat with him to see how he got here, to give us some perspective on it. Then I'm going to show you another video, which has got some clips from some of Charlie's flying and some of the flying that may have caused some of the opinions that are out there. And then we can all talk about it, and it's your chance to engage. So feel free to comment, ask questions, challenge him. Keep it civil. There's no place for personal abuse here. And if you're going to make any personal abuse, you'll either get binned or you certainly won't get highlighted. So anyway, we need to learn to agree or disagree with a bit of integrity and respect, because I think that's a good thing rather than jumping on and piling in. So here we go. Let me just find that first video. So this is the first one. Here you go.
Welcome to another flying vlog with me, Charlie Lamdin. This is Charlie's personal vlog channel where I share my very long and continuously looking like it's going to take even longer story about my journey in an attempt to build up enough time, money, experience to fly my family around the world in a seaplane one day.
Hello, Charlie. Let me just move you up to the top left position and then make you big. Thank you very much for joining us, Charlie. I hope you're doing well. That was a few clips put together from your vlogs that are out there. So I wonder, just for kind of perspective, you could tell us kind of like how you got interested in flying, how long you've been flying, and kind of where you are currently with your flying, really. And then once you've done that, we'll play the second set of clips, and then we'll talk about all the other stuff.
Hi, well, thanks very much for having me, guys. It's exciting, and yeah, some of what's going on in the comments has been a bit bewildering to me, so I'd be good to talk that through. I started flying because I got divorced, and I had it was an amicable no kids divorce back in about 2008, and I suddenly had a bit of time and more money on my hands than I'd had before, and I thought, oh, I've got something to do, and it had never been something that had actually been on my list, but the thing I love above all else is freedom to choose, freedom to travel, etc. And to me, that was the appeal of aviation. Learning to fly was just the freedom of aviation. And I learned to fly. I started at Blackbush, but ended up actually getting my license at Enstone with Oxfordshire Sport Flying, Ray Brown rig, which is a wonderful place to learn to fly. Lots of uncontrolled airspace around there. And I kept it up. I wanted to keep it up. I thought it was really exciting. And I very quickly discovered that some pilots, when they get their license, they just stay within a comfort zone and they never leave it. And there are other pilots who then begin the long journey of extending outside your comfort zone. It's only ever been something that's been as an amateur hobby, just something for fun, personal enjoyment, the joy of flying. I didn't expect half of the incredible benefits that you get in terms of personal development, decision-making skills, the things that you learn about flying that you can apply in the rest of your life. I had no idea about any of that stuff. I think anyone who runs their own business should definitely go and try and learn to fly, because I think there are massive parallels between the skills you learn having to fly and the skills you learn running a business, which is where you've got to run everything at the same time and you can't pull over and stop. You've got to keep going no matter what. And then someone gave me a book, and I still to this day wish I could remember who it was, about seaplanes. And I was lying in the bath reading it, which I don't remember because I don't actually have bath very often. I normally have a shower. And there was this line in this book that said, there are places in the world that can't be reached any other way than in a seaplane. And that was it. I was absolutely hooked, and I thought I must get my seaplane rating. And in January 2014, I got my seaplane rating in Lake Como. I then discovered there wasn't an extraordinary amount of seaplane flying opportunity in Europe, and what there was very expensive. So I went over to the Greenville seaplane flying in September in Maine, which I just turned up alone, and I've never witnessed such hospitality. I was welcomed as a long lost stranger into the seaplane aviation community over there. And that's been where I've actually had some of the most fascinating times. But sadly, I mean, the main reason for my YouTube channel is to document my efforts. So one day, hopefully, if I get enough time and enough money and I haven't got too old and my kids haven't got too old, I'd love to fly my family around the world in probably something like an amphibious twin otter. That's the dream. And I'm just enjoying the process of working towards that. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't, but it gives me a direction for everything I need to do. I want to get my full instrument rating. I need to get my twin. I'd like to get my commercial, my CPL. In fact, I'd done all the studying and I had my exams ready to go, and then COVID cancelled the exams. I never got back to it. And you know, the magic about flying, you know, and as life gets on, you get faster and you get kids, things start to get lost in the mists of time. And I wanted to start recording it because it's just such a lovely thing. And there's amazing days where you have lovely days. And I'm so glad I did. And that's my first reason for doing it. And it was also because in my working life in the property sector, I needed to get good at doing YouTube. So my personal channel, which isn't expressly an aviation channel, it's just my personal video diary, was kind of like a practice ground for it. And you know, as people could tell from the beginning, I didn't take it very seriously. I didn't take the channel very seriously. There was no professionalism in the production or anything. It was just chuck some GoPros up, dump the footage into something, give it to an editor because I can't edit videos to save my life, and see what came out of it. And I was as surprised as anybody when it started to get followers and views. And then I got, you know, immediately I got both sides of the hornet's nest. I got this sort of ferocious new.
I'm gonna stop you there before you go too far down that road, because we've got some other clips and then we'll come back to that. But just bring us up to date, because I think you fly a couple of interesting airplanes briefly, and then we'll move on to the next bit.
Yeah, I had one of those things, right place, right time, absolute, just the stars aligned, and I was able to get my hands on my own Cessna 182, which by complete fluke happened to be one of those very rare ones with a canard conversion on it, which gives it a 30-knot stall speed, so very, very short takeoff and landing distance, but still a full 4 adults, fuel, luggage, you know, and sort of 6-hour endurance. So it's an incredible all-round plane, and those canards just make it perform even better than the 182 already does. Yeah, and I've got a share in a Cessna 180 on floats in Norway, which I share with a handful of German airline pilots. And it's a 1950s plane that spent its entire life in Norway in salt water. It's amazing. And there it is, 60, 70 years later, still going strong. It's had quite a lot of maintenance done to it, but flying around the fields in Norway is just the most magical thing. It's incredible.
You'd think it would have dissolved by now.
Yeah.
Normally, when you see ads for Cessna 180s, it's like never been anywhere near salt water, and you know full well that probably has. Anyway, okay, so the background, you know, you learnt to fly in the UK. Was that back in 2002? Did you say?
No, I actually got my PPL in 2010. 2010.
Okay, great. So 2010, so 14 years ago, you got a share in the 182. Sorry, you own the 182, the Peterson conversion, isn't it?
That's right.
And the share in the 180. Right, let's play your second set of clips. Here you go.
Just wanted to check what the conditions are at the moment. I'm pretty sure it's pretty windy up there, but the clouds and stuff, how are they looking?
Yeah, it's not too great here at the moment.
This is super frustrating, but also getting a bit dangerous.
November 20 Sierra Exeter.
November 20 Sierra, go ahead.
If you've just spoken to Doug Swine there, whether the cloud is on the ground and visibility is 500 meters.
The fact that I'm standing here today recording this video with this plane still in one piece is down to pure, unadulterated luck that I emerged unscathed from an emergency situation that was 100% the makings of my own stupidity.
Merrifield Military
airbase. Suboptimal to say the least. Feeling very stupid. A big lesson learned today about thinking, oh, I can always just turn back to my alternate. Contrary to the belief of many of you, I don't care what anyone thinks. If you worry about what other people think, especially strangers, you're doomed to misery. It never ceases to amaze me how many of the haters think I give a flying hoot what they think.
Okay, before we go down that road, I should just point out to people the fact that, you know, there are clips of I think 2 or 3 different videos in there, and they may or may not relate to each other, and it would be very easy to take the individual bits out of context. So, you know, beware of those clips that I just kind of gathered quickly today to try and kind of. I think effectively there was one flight that, if people don't know about it, here was was a flight from Earl's Colne to Dunk as well that ended up in Merrifield. So which we can talk about in a bit. So basically, I guess the questions that I'm going to kick off with, and you kind of answered one of them already, which is, you know, why do you actually why do you have a YouTube channel? But I think we've kind of done that. Perhaps more interestingly, why do you think that you have that you have a bit of a Marmite side, that some people love you and some people aren't entirely in love with you, should we say? And you know, do you ever sit there in those rare baths that you take and go, oh, I wonder if they've got a point or not? I mean, how does it affect you?
Always, 100%. My first reaction always is, are they right? That's always my first reaction, which is why I say I always welcome constructive criticism. And honestly, as a direct result of that YouTube channel, I have learned stuff I didn't know before as a result of people giving feedback, people giving constructive feedback. And I don't think anyone would disagree, right, that sharing our mistakes, whether it's in the hangar with other pilots or whether it's online, is useful. Sharing that experience, sharing mistakes is useful for other pilots. And I get comments, as many privately as I do publicly, from around the world, thanking me for sharing these mistakes and saying these videos are saving lives. And I just think about how much value I got from watching other YouTubers, how much I've learned from watching other YouTubers who are brave enough to share their mistakes, because by God, you need to be. Right? You need to have absolute rhino hide if you want to go and share your mistakes, because there are literally seemingly hundreds of people just waiting to make themselves feel better by making you feel worse, rather than coming to you with anything constructive. And I know that this negative subset is a minority because of the majority of constructive feedback I get. And not just constructive feedback. I mean, I've had, the most notable one was after I published that video of trying to take my son Archie flying in Norway in the seaplane. And it was a case of not get there-itis, it was get up there-itis, because we'd been planning it for so long. We'd flown to Norway, there was so much time and money. We only had a couple of days, and the day was getting away from us. Oh, I should never have gone. I should never have taken off that day. And an American commercial pilot who was also a GA pilot, owner, and instructor, and he'd been flying his own 180 for, I don't know, 30 years or something, said to me, "Hey, look, have you got time? I'd love to have a video call with you. Let's run through what happened." And he just, you know, and that's just one example of the kind of thing that happens on this YouTube channel. I've had so many magical offers and experiences like that I got to fly the A380 simulator as a direct result of the YouTube channel. I have a standing offer to go and fly a 737 simulator as a result of the YouTube channel. And I get so many people who generally tend to send the messages privately, including, and this is the salient point, when I published that Merrifield emergency vlog, and then, you know, people sort of kicked off in the comments about it, like, if I hadn't published it, you'd never know about it. Why would you? I'm publishing it there so that people can learn from the massively stupid mistake I made. I had people sending me their own video clips saying, these are the clips of my mistakes I wish I could publish, but I can't because I'm afraid of the reaction online. And I know pilot owners in this country, right? My friends of mine who own planes and fly them, who film their flights, and they go, "Charlie, why do you share your videos? You just open yourself up to such punishment." Because I think based on the feedback I get, the value that they provide is far, far, far more important than some people who don't like it. If you don't like it, don't watch it. I've asked people said, oh, he breaks the rules. And I said, what rules have I broken? Like, what rules have I knowingly, consciously broken? Because some of them make me sound like I just go out there and don't care what I do, and which is just ridiculous. And whenever I ask them, I get nothing. I don't get a response. So it's, as Bob Hoover said, the most important thing that any aviator can do is encourage others to want to fly. Well, that's one of the reasons. That's another reason I have the YouTube channel, right? And it's such a sad indictment on the effects of that small minority in the community, that their existence is actually preventing other pilots from doing YouTube, which might do something to go towards helping general aviation be expanding rather than contracting, with airfields closing down and flight schools closing down. And I think and by the way, when I say the negative people, I don't mean people criticizing decisions or flying. That's why I publish the mistakes. I publish the mistakes to stimulate discussion, because we all learn from it, myself included. The negative people are not the critics. They're the ones making personal attacks that don't appear to want to do anything other than have me taken down, which is why I've had, the CAA has told me that I've just got obvious haters trying to get me taken down and filing reports to the CAA against me. The CAA have just discontinued, said, don't worry, we're not going to take any further action on this. It's obviously just sour grapes. So, I think that if you're, and I've had the whole spectrum of feedback. I've had people being too nice, generally too nice, and when I deserve criticism for it, right? I've had people being really positively constructive, offering to take me flying in their plane, offering to come and fly in my plane as an instructor, offering to meet up and talk, whatever. And that is just incredible generosity, which is another reason for doing the YouTube channel, because it opens me up to that, which I wouldn't get those offers. And then you get the ones who are quite harsh critics, and I don't have a problem with that. That was a really stupid mistake. Here's why. And they explain it and they lay out their reasons. That is massively valuable constructive criticism and feedback, which I learn from. And I have, right? And I've got no problem with that. But when people just want to sort of have a go at you personally, which I don't care about, and yes, it would be easy for me to not engage them and just walk away and go, oh, I'm just going to ignore the trolls. But ignoring the trolls is why there are no other YouTubers doing this, and why existing YouTubers that I talk to say it's so unpleasant, it sometimes makes us question whether we're going to carry on.
So a couple of questions that I'd ask as a result of what you just said, really. One, you spoke about your flight with Archie in Norway. I watched that video when it came out. I haven't watched it recently. I didn't reference it in the clips. And then the kind of what you might call the Merrifield flight, should we say? I mean, those flights were at different times, and they were probably, one could argue the two flights that probably shouldn't have taken place, or at least should have diverted earlier in the Merrifield one. Was that a kind of, when you were thinking about that, did the flight with Archie come into your? Do you know what? There are signs that sometimes it's not destined to go flying, and there would be different reasons for it all. But
well, guess what? There are no videos of the flights I choose to not do.
Well, and that's my second point. You're right. My second point is one could be forgiven for. If you get that little YouTube notification, ping, Charlie Lamdin's just uploaded a video or something, you could almost think, if you look, and it's not, I've sort of done a little bit of analysis, and it's not super fair, but you could almost think, Charlie Lamdin's just like, I wonder what's gone wrong now, kind of thing. And that's
completely fair, because when you upload uneventful flights, even I don't want to watch those. I took off. Everything was fine. I landed. Who's going to watch that? Why am I going to spend time and money editing, producing, and publishing that video? There's nothing to learn from it. That was nice. Land. These videos take real time and money to publish, and so that I have other videos that are unpublished because they're unpublishable because of the negative community. So, and also, they're edited to provide. I've heard other YouTubers have to explain this, and it's like occasionally I upload real time flights. Because I think that I've been told that those are quite useful for students who want to study, just actually see what it was like, a real-time, uncut, full-length flight, watch the whole thing. But if you think that all of my aviation content on YouTube is all of my flying, then of course it comes across as though I'm an absolute disaster area. Because also the flights that get the most views are the ones with the worst mistakes. And before anyone thinks that I'm doing this for YouTube views and money and likes, please, I have struggled to break 50 quid in a month of YouTube ad revenue. There is absolutely no financial upside to doing it whatsoever. So, yes, of course, and I've seen other YouTubers have to go. I wish I didn't have to explain this, but obviously this is edited, and obviously I have done the checks. I mean, it beggars belief that some of the people commenting could be pilots and say the things they do. I mean, I genuinely hope that some of the people making those comments cannot possibly be pilots, because if they're making comments that stupid and they're flying, that to me is worrying. But I assume there are a lot of people who aren't pilots. There are lots of simulator pilots that never actually fly, and they get the comments as well. And you never know who they are. You never know who these people are. So, but my point is, constructive criticism is the most valuable thing I get out of that YouTube channel. Any value that other pilots might find from my mistakes is a way that I can give back to the aviation community what I have gained from it, from other people's YouTube videos, right? If I can share mistakes that help other people avoid them, why wouldn't I? Well, apart from the idiots that want to be personal about it, it makes sense. If you've got something valuable that's shared to help other pilots, then you should, like Bob Hoover said. I mean, but the trouble is that the online community, the armchair ones, are probably much more responsible for the decline of general aviation in this country than they realize. Because, in the US, for example, there's a whole new generation of young pilots. It's wonderful to see it. There are lots and lots of YouTube channels and lots of people. You can see youngsters getting into flying and loving it, and doing it not because they want to be airline pilots necessarily, because the joy of flying, backcountry flying. There's not silly at all. There's amazing planes with the big bush wheels, and they go off and they meet up for picnics and camping. And where's the UK version of that? I mean, I'm doing my best. But, the other pilots don't want to share it because of the reaction that you get. And so, even objectively looking, how is that reaction constructive or helpful? Now, there have been a couple of people who have sent me very harsh criticism by private message. And to me, that is credible, because they're not grandstanding. They're not trying to make themselves look good in the comments. They feel strongly enough about whatever I've done to send me a private message, and they put time into it. And I will always read those carefully, and I will always respond to those carefully. Whether it's like, thanks very much, hadn't thought of that, or actually there's a couple of things you didn't know, or I disagree because, but they're always constructive. So, but when it's public, it's just grandstanding when it's public and it's not constructive, it's just grandstanding, it's to be ignored. But sorry, there's one more final point on this which is important. Whenever you stand up to bullies in life, the first thing they do is try and tell you to shut up. It's the first thing they always do. Shut up, sit down, no one wants to hear it. And that's been happening to me recently. And I've been saying, well, this is why there isn't more aviation support in the UK, because every time someone wants to actually push back against the negativity, you guys all pile on.
Well, I hope I'm not being a bully.
Not at all. Not at all. This is wonderful.
Can you shut up? But I'm only saying that because this software means I can't see any other comments. But Ed, I don't know if there's anything in the comments that we can put out.
There are a few. Cameron Bunt says, great to share mistakes, but there's a staggering amount of errors of judgment or dangerous mistakes on the channel for one individual. Dan Smith, I did see one where you got refused en route access to airspace in, I think, Belgium, because you didn't have the correct transponder. That's lack of planning rather than getting caught out, right?
Mm-hmm. I actually didn't know. I didn't know I needed a mode Sierra transponder. It was just lack of knowledge on my part, not lack of planning. That was a flight to Norway. I've done lots of planning.
GHO Flyer says, if learning from mistakes, how do you get 3 airspace infringements? A number so high, no one appeared to know how to deal with the CAA punishment. Presumably, you were the first.
No, I wasn't the first. And not only that, the reason that third one took so long for them to find me an instructor is because they revealed to me that the number of flight schools whose instructors have airspace infringements mean that those flying schools can't be used to provide remedial training. So I'm not the only one to have had 3. I'm certainly the only one to have had 3 and shared it and published it, because actually, you know, it's the airspace infringements are to be avoided at any cost, obviously, but they are also the fear of the CAA is misplaced. The CAA's conduct in all 3 of those cases was completely fair, constructive, and positive, and said all we want to do is try and help reduce further instances of mistakes. And they couldn't have been fairer about it, and that's why I published it. Because, you know, there is this fear of the CAA among a lot of pilots, and yeah, there are lots of other frustrations on the admin side. That's a separate point. But on this, I actually, one of them contacted me personally, someone on the CAA on a mobile, and he just said, "Look, I wish everyone else was as constructive as you have been in the handling of these infringement situations." He said, "You've been forthright, forthcoming, you've provided us with everything, you haven't tried, you've just been," and he said, "That makes this so much better, and I wish more people were like that, because we're not here to take anyone's wings away."
In terms of learning from mistakes, because I think we can all say that aviation is great when you can learn from mistakes. Do you think maybe some pilots and some of the comments that come out are because people feel that like you're not learning from your own mistakes?
Well, I mean, if whether or not I'm learning from my mistakes is important enough to them to actually want to ask the question, then I would expect them to go, obviously his YouTube channel is only a very small snippet of less than 5% of his flying. We can't judge 100% of flying based on less than 5% of it. Let's ask some reasonable questions. Charlie, what instructors do you use? What do they say? Because, I mean, guys, there have been times when the pushback on the YouTube has been so great, I have gone to instructors and gone, am I missing something? Because there are people saying I shouldn't be flying. Can we go flying together? Can you tell me? And I've gone up with instructors, and more than one, like multiple instructors, and they've said, these are your strengths, these are your weaknesses. You're no better or worse than the other pilot. This is normal. And when I've had the offers of help online from other instructors and stuff, they've gone, don't let anyone tell you that you're the only one making these mistakes. Others are just too afraid to admit them. And that's true. You know, is the idea of learning from your mistakes that, once you made the mistake, that's it, you never make mistakes again? Because those airspace infringements were all completely different circumstances. And that's why I did a whole video explaining it. Okay. And actually, the course that the CAA gave me after the second one, I wish they'd given me after the first one, because it was a brilliant course. The airspace awareness infringement course was fantastic, and I can't believe it's not part of the PPL exams. It was just great.
And to be fair, the infringement 1 and 2 were both, you said at the time about both things. You said, "Oh, I wasn't situationally aware."
So. The first one was a very, very slight one, and I'd gone from flying 182s back into a 172 that didn't have autopilot, and I was just flying down to Leon Solent, I think it was, and I just lightly skimmed the side of Solent's airspace. It was, which was just careless. Yes, it was sloppy situational awareness. Take my wings away! I had bad situational awareness for 5 minutes. Take me down! Okay, look, but, you know, they sent me a letter, said, be aware, don't do again. The next one I did was much more serious, totally different, complete planning failure. It was a planning failure as well as a situational awareness failure on a route that I was familiar with going up to Earl's Colne, because I've got family up there. And I did a horizontal bust of London TMA, you know, and I was on a farm realistic talk when they told me. Yeah, I mean, completely my bad, right? And I was as horrified as anyone about that. And I welcomed the training that happened. The third one was an ATZ. It wasn't Class D or Class A or anything like that. It was an ATZ where a lower than forecast cloud base pushed me just into the top of Leon Solent airspace. And it was a result of one of my videos. Someone reported me to the CAA. So actually my own videos got me done for that one. But that ended up with one of the greatest days training I've ever had, where a CAA, one of the examiner's examiner, I got to spend the whole day with this guy. He's one of the loveliest instructors and most experienced I've ever flown with. We did dead reckoning training, 3 hours of dead reckoning training out of Compton Abbas. And he was the same. He said, I do this all the time. Do not think you're the only one. He said, here's my card and I'd be happy to fly with you again.
I think.
I know you're going to wind up. We need to wind up. The couple of other standouts for me. You had one video where you talk about having a flight where you definitely had get there-itis, and it was a flight from Dunkerswell to a strip up near Sussex, I think. And yeah, and you talked about the fact is, I absolutely must make it today. I've got to get there itis. I should go on top, but I'm not prepared to do that. And that was a great, there was some good learning points in that. I think that was the one that led to your third infringement, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
And then, so you go, great, made the video, good learning points. There's the Merrifield one, almost seemed like a rerun of that in a way. It's like, it's another Charlie encounters nasty, sketchy kind of get there itis flight. And it just feels like that might be why people get so polarized.
That's a fair point. And what I would say is this: I can remember it was actually a very well-known and very highly respected instructor in this country who said to me one day when I said, I don't think the weather's good enough to fly. And he said to me, yeah, you can make that decision. But if you actually want to keep on growing as a pilot, then you sort of go, hang on, it's very easy to say don't go. Could you go? Could you go safely? Let's actually work it out and plan. He said, because if you just never fly, because the weather might be a bit too on the edge, then you're never going to get anywhere, especially with the weather in this country. And so I was encouraged by instructors, both here and in the US, to get used to taking off on a journey, but having pre-planned alternates in the event the weather's worse than forecast. Now, I mean, the Merrifield one was a failure to land at the alternate I'd already pre-selected at Henstridge, and it was because as I did in that follow-up video, I'd forgotten about the fact that my IMC rating was not available as a get-out card that day, and that's why I got myself boxed in. It was appalling decision making. Taking off wasn't the mistake, right? The first half of the flight, more than it was absolutely fine. In fact, well, it was stupid not to land at Henstridge. I passed Henstridge twice, and twice chose to keep going instead of land there. And there's just the inexcusable stupidity, and I have no defense against that. Does that mean I should never fly again?
I think we're not saying don't fly again. It's maybe.
Do you think I'm going to make that mistake again?
Yeah.
What happened that day?
Will we see another Charlie video where it's like, oh, I made a bad decision. I had to get there itis on a bad weather day.
I'm pretty certain that my future of flying will not be 100% free from bad decisions. Yeah. I think any pilot who says they're never going to make a bad decision again is probably not a healthy attitude.
Is true. Yeah.
I have to say, I have a different view of aviation safety to many, which is that if you read an AIB report, or these days the modern equivalent, watch a YouTube video, and you end up saying to yourself, that's a stupid mistake, it had never happened to me, then you've missed an opportunity to learn. And that we should all learn from everybody else's mistakes, even if those mistakes look blindingly obvious to us while we're sitting there reading them or watching them, because there are sadly many thousands of pilots who are much better and much more experienced than us that have made mistakes that have cost them their lives. And so we all have a duty to ourselves and our families to learn from every single thing, and dismissing something as stupid is not at all a productive way of moving forwards, in my own humble opinion. My humble opinion is also that we've overrun by 7 minutes, which I promised myself I was never going to do. That's another bad planning error on my part.
That's okay. It's good discussion.
For which I apologize to everybody. So I'm going to wind up by saying, Charlie, thank you. You have been our most controversial guest in 4 years, and if there was an award for that, you would definitely win it. But it's been fascinating, interesting, and I love talking about aviation safety. I think the fact that videos are 5% of your flying or anyone's flying, they're probably 1% of my flying. It is very difficult. I know when people cherry pick bits and pieces in there, but that's not to say that their views should be dismissed, because they're, if they can keep the personal comments out of it, there's some good stuff in there, and we all kind of have to have those quiet minutes where we sit there and reflect. So thank you very much for participating.
Thanks for having me.
And maybe one day we should have a go at your airplane, because that sounds like fun. I've got a 182, but without the canards. So.
I'm a very dangerous pilot. You can't fly with me. Definitely wouldn't be safe.
There was some love for Charlie's. At least one viewer was saying, "I'm very envious of Charlie's Peterson stall."
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'd like to thank all of those people who have sent me support. I really appreciate it.
Fantastic. Okay,
Charlie,
so must
thank
be
you very
time
much.
for Fancy Hangar. Well, lots of stuff in the comments. I'm going to conclude by going. Pilot H says Dan Grider next. And as Peter Cox points out, Charlie does bring, that lots of people have lots of feelings about things, and 200 people watching.
I'm just waiting to see how much abuse I get tomorrow in the comments on Facebook or wherever. But who knows? Who knows? From the people
thanks to a whole bunch of people in the comments, because flyers come in for a bit of criticism for hosting Charlie, but there's been a whole bunch of people, GHO Flyer in fact, saying bravo to the fly team for not dodging the difficult questions, and for there was some other comments about just keeping it fair and honest. So and well done to Charlie for coming on, because it's not the world is. Unfortunately, now the world is a polarized audience of you're right or I'm wrong kind of thing, isn't it? So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So talking of right and wrong,
yes, obviously I'm going to win Fancy,
wasn't it? Fancy.
It's Fancy Hangar. We were short of ideas for Fancy Hangar, so we asked the Skystream audience yesterday for suggestions for ideas, and they said, why not pick one of your birthdays? So we said, okay, we'll pick 1924 for aeroplanes from the year that Dave was born.
That's a bit hard.
I thought they meant 19.
We were going to pick birthdays, but then Ian said, why don't we go for 100 years ago? So, which clearly Dave is a whole lot younger than 100. So aeroplanes from 1924. Who's first?
Johnny.
It's me. So if you go on Wikipedia, there's some great names of airplanes like the Bristol Brownie, the Wood Pigeon. There's a Hedgehog. But I picked the original Tin Goose. So if you know, the Tin Goose is the Ford Trimotor.
Yeah.
The original Tin Goose is the Stout Pullman, which
yes.
is obviously, it looks like a single engine trimotor. They were put into service for the Ford Air Transport Service in 1925. The aircraft were built in 1924, and it was eventually redesigned with 3 engines, becoming the Stout AT3, and then redesigned again to become the Trimotor. But an aircraft with the name Stout, in 1928, the US Commerce Department actually declared they were structurally unsafe, and they all had to be scrapped.
Oh no!
I have to say, and if you do take some time and look at things made in 1924, the Stout aeroplane looks like the most modern, forward-thinking design of pretty much anything. So
don't prejudge that, Ed. Don't.
No, okay.
I'm up next, and I've got an absolute.
Next, what have you got?
I've got a beauty. I've got something called a short satellite, which I'll put up on the screen shortly. But most intriguing to me is the short satellite was a result of a competition run by the Air Ministry to encourage people in the UK to come out with 2-seat sport aircraft, because they wanted to grow the wonderful world of aviation. It's just absolutely. Can you imagine the government doing that now? Anyway, the short. I think that looks bloody great. It was made in aluminium. It was a 2-seat aircraft, as you can see. Unfortunately, powered by a little 33 horsepower Bristol Cherub, it didn't quite have the power to cope with 2 people, not even 2 jockeys. So it was disqualified along with 17 others. 17 others from the contest. I mean, remarkably, the flying had to take place in September of 2024. When did they begin the designs? July. Yeah. 3 months before they start, we better start designing this and building it, and then they flew it. I mean, Cessna take that long to organise a new take longer than that by a factor of probably 10 to organise a new bloody door interior card. For God's sake! And
I think this was the time of things like the LIMP trials and things like that, wasn't it? So it's like how can we fly the most on the least power? So,
I know.
If you go to Shuttleworth, you can watch things like the Hummingbird. Oh, no, not the Hummingbird.
The Wren.
The Wren, the English electric Wren, barely get out of its own way as it flies around the circuit.
3 horsepower.
Yeah,
I'm just going to put this up again because clearly it's a beautiful, beautiful airplane that should win tonight.
I'm not sure about beauty there, but I feel we've got beauty on the way. But it definitely wasn't a stout aeroplane. Dave, what have you got?
Well, I've chosen the Bernard Sim V2. V2 stands for version 2, sometimes known as the Bernard Verbois. It may look a little odd, but this is a real world speed record breaker. It's powered by a W12 Hispano-Suiza engine delivering 460 horsepower. If you're wondering what a W12 is, it's imagine a V8 with an extra set of cylinders, and that's a W12. In December 1924, Bernard's aircraft flew at an average speed of 278 miles an hour, setting a new record approved by the FAA, and it stood for 3 years at a time when aviation development was really rapid. So what happened to this fabulous aeroplane? It was scrapped in 1933.
And I've got to say, that's an aeroplane you look at and you go, that thing looks like it would kill you just standing still. So
you wouldn't see it coming, would you?
No, I went doing some research so that we could take the Mickey out of you, but it would appear this was a completely successful design, and absolutely nothing went wrong with it, and it was completely safe.
I vote for Dave.
Well, we haven't done me yet, but
no. You can imagine that thing. If you sit there and you open the throttle, it doesn't go forwards; it just spins round on its own axis.
That's for things in 1924. That must have looked like the space shuttle. So
unbelievable.
Anyway, you're all waiting for the winner, and I've got it because 1924. It's all about beautiful things, and I've got a beautiful Italian thing for you. I've got this, the Savoia Marchetti S56 amphibian. Look at this, 3 seats, 2 up front and 1 very small light one in the back. It's an Italian biplane seaplane, and it had a 125 horsepower, 5-cylinder Kinner radial. Unlike the others here, the S56 was a bit of commercial success. 70 were built, over half of those went to the USA. Where it was license built to meet demand, and a handful still exist today. This one is owned by someone we might call Mr. Fancy Hanger. It's in the collection of Kermit Weeks, but look at that. That's just gorgeous.
That looks like a one-night stand, the result of a one-night stand between a Petrel and a Sea Ray.
That's mean. Both of those plastic fantastics would not make my masterpiece. So,
were the passengers and pilot very tall or something, because there's a huge distance between the lower wing and the top wing?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just to keep the propeller out of your face.
Yeah.
So anyway,
right. Anyway, we've run out of time. So
Annabelle, who did pick, because Annabelle was going to be with us but couldn't get any internet. Annabelle did pick Dave's choice. So, and then Dave
I picked Dave's choice as well. I think it's brilliant.
So, Martin Loosby, what? No colour picks? I had one, only because mine survived to this. But otherwise, I think there is a lot. There's an Ed wins, but there's mostly a lot of Dave wins. Clearly, you all want things that will set your hair on fire. Ed, you win. I'm not convinced by Ed's flying canoe. That's harsh.
Was that lovely Ed?
Dave and Ed wins. Ed, have you been drinking Ed wins? Ed wins. The pub is calling. By Aviator Steve. Dave wins. Ed wins. Love that aeroplane. Ed wins. Dave wins. Oh, there we go. We'll finish with Charlie wins.
Yep.
There you go. Right.
There we go. I think it's a Dave wins though. That. Well done, Annabelle.
Well done, Dave. Do you want to run through events?
Yeah, we'll do quickly. There's an event in Toulouse this weekend. Not next weekend, next week, during next week, called Green Aero Days. It's about the decarbonisation of light aviation. There's going to be a little exhibition going on as well. There's an event called the Flight Before Christmas, which is a Christmas event at Kemble. There's an electronic conspicuity webinar. I've been practicing that word. Electronic conspicuity webinar on the 3rd of December. Where's that? I mean, I didn't write these. Where's that come from?
Online, I think.
Online. Okay, and Compton Abbas is having a Christmas flying on the 7th of December. A proper, real flying. Yeah.
Adrian says, come on, Ed, show some of the Ian wins. There were no Ian wins.
I can't believe this. I can't believe it. Right. That basis, sorry, do you want to say something, Dave?
I was just going to say, I mean, I thought Charlie was very good, and I thought if I show some of my mistakes over the years on videos, I'd be buried in toxic comment. So I just say, well done, Charlie.
But your original flying videos, Dave, were they in like silent form, black and white?
Right. On that basis, thank you very much, team. Thank you very much, Charlie. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Have a safe weekend flying. We'll see you next Tuesday for the Mark Greenfield webinar, next Wednesday for the afternoon Sky Stream, next Thursday for a live stream again. And we'll see you tomorrow in the comments on our Facebook page where no doubt there'll be a bit of mud being sent our way.
If you're watching on catch up, leave a comment. Tell us that you watched. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. On that basis, thank you very much, everybody.
Bye, everybody.